Okay, so if you're a new agent with our company, you know about the fact we have 8 offices, 4 in the Hamptons and 4 in the city. And you should be aware of all of the important information that Coldwell Banker is. 116 years old, 333 billion in sales. It should be all part of your pitch. Learn it. Let's move on to, I want to welcome some people to the company. Kelly McCollenden in the Manhattan office. She
Why
has.
don't we go to Amanda, Bob? Let
Right,
me
fine.
introduce the new hires for the city, and then we'll go to Liz for the Hamptons.
So I want to say a big welcome to Kelly McAllinden. She'll be working out of the Manhattan office, and she has over 30 years experience. We're so happy, Kelly, to work with you and that you've joined. And then Crystal Damjanovic, she'll also be working out of the Manhattan office. She comes to us from another brokerage and has a lot of rental experience. So we'll be focusing more on sales here. So welcome, Kelly and Crystal.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Amanda.
Bravo. Good stuff.
And Liz, I'd like you to introduce your two new agents.
Well. Anyway,
How about
Liz?
Bo?
Well, I'll be happy to.
Liz, we don't have any audio from you, yeah.
I'm very, very excited to welcome Natalie Lewis to the West Hampton office. And I want to crush this name, so I do apologize in advance.
Lourdes Albin.
That's what Lourdes Albin. I thought I'd get it right. Thank you, Joe, and our Bridgehampton office. But we're very excited, and they're bringing a lot to the company. And welcome on behalf of myself and Joe and the entire company.
Yeah, Natalie, a tremendous amount of experience. Has been an agent at the Hamptons for several years. Top producer, brings a lot of great power to the company. So we're very happy to be in business with you. Lourdes, out of the Bridgehampton office, comes in with a lot of energy and experience, and we're very glad to be in business with you. Welcome.
Let's move on. I just want to quickly go over some items here for trainings on Tuesday. It is the end of the year. You've got lead gen farming. Wednesday, you've got pricing strategies, guides to the seller. This is all corporate training. Introduction to design concierge and Prospect Square newsletter agent training. Everybody should be taking this because they should all be putting out their own newsletters and promoting themselves on the internet. And this is a good way to do it when you're doing drip campaigning or you're doing monthly newsletters on a regular basis. Get your name out there. Get people to know that you're there and you're willing to help and service them. Oh yes, don't forget Saturday morning coffee and highlights and the latest developments by Liz Gallo every Saturday morning. Lots of great information there. You should be reading it.
It's amazing stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like reading the New York Times.
In fact, it takes a week to read it all. So,
Yeah, it's like reading the New York Times, but with better content.
I'd have to agree with that, Joe. As long as they spell our names right.
Okay. So I just wanted to remind everybody that you can make your 45-minute appointment to do business meetings. The three of us are doing business planning meetings with Joe, me, or Sharif. And you just need to follow three steps. You have to complete your bio and profile and websites and the presence list that I sent out. Watch the video, Loom video, getting started with Illume for business planning. And you should have already answered questions and filled out the information on that platform. You can either meet with us on Zoom, and Joe is going to do in-person meetings at the office.
Yeah, New York City, myself, Robert, and Sharif will handle the business plan sessions. In the Hamptons, it'll be myself and the Captain Boholz. You got to have a plan in place. We're using the Tom Ferry Illume system, which I'm a firm believer in. It's a fantastic platform. You have a plan in place, and then it's just about execution and accountability. So take the time to schedule these sessions. It's important for your business, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Okay, then let's go. All right. I want to introduce Jill Biggs, Coldwell Banker Realty in New Jersey, the Jill Biggs Group. I'm going to pass it along to Todd and let him get the ball rolling. He's going to ask Jill several questions, and I hope we'll get some great answers from her. I'm sure we will. Here we go.
Welcome, Jill Biggs. Obviously, we're very excited to have you here. One of the best agents in the world, top largest team for Coldwell Banker and the Coldwell Banker Network. So we're very proud to have you here. First question, what did you do before real estate and how did you start your real estate career? What were some of the difficulties you had to overcome in order to be successful within your first 2 years?
Ooh, well, I've had, I think, several careers. I started out after college. I had a real job for 3 months.
Mhm.
And I made very little money and had to get up super early in the morning. And I quit and went back to being a New York City nightclub bartender. The old people on this call will remember I was a bartender in the 80s at the Limelight, the Roxy, the Palladium. I wore a little rubber dress and I made a lot of money and I had a good time. And fast forward, I had a kid and realized quickly that my husband was having a nervous breakdown because I would come home at 4 in the morning and he'd be stuck with this baby. And so he gave me some money and I opened a children's clothing and toy store. I actually had never had a business ever. And I thought, this will be fun. I'll take my kids to work with me. God, it'll be easy. So that didn't work out that well. But I did, yeah. I I did that for 10 years and I opened one store and then I opened another one and I did that in Hoboken even though I had never been to Hoboken. I'd lived in the West in the East Village and I answered an ad and did a reverse commute after. Oh, did I mention I used to manage a restaurant and a gay bar in South Beach, Miami?
No, you didn't
Okay.
mention that.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't mention that part.
So so I was a bartender and I gave away all my furniture, bought a convertible, had $200 to my name, and moved to South Beach in
Cool.
1989. And I, luckily or whatever, I went out and I found somebody who was from the city who was opening a restaurant, and I don't know, he hired me. And so I did that. And after having dated the only two straight men at the time in Miami, I moved back to New York City. And I was unemployed. So I had to get a job. And that's how I ended up in Hoboken. I answered an ad in the New York Times for a bar manager. And I did that for a bit. And then actually, that was when I had the baby and it was making my ex crazy. I was doing the reverse commute. So that's how I moved to Hoboken. And and then I opened that children's clothing and toy store, which I did for like 10 years. And it was
Wow.
super successful. I worked all the time and I made every mistake. I can remember the first year in business when I decided everybody should wear black because that was how I was dressing. But I learned that maybe people don't want to put their babies in black unless they're me. So and this season when I ordered everything in mustard and nobody wanted to buy it, and so my children had to wear mustard for several years. And somehow the reason I have all four kids is probably because I needed people to dress. So good planning. Um, and then and then I moved to Maui in 2001. I decided I was going to go and live in the most beautiful place I'd ever been. I lasted 9 months. By the end of it, I was, I think, drinking and not getting dressed. And I'm a workaholic, bored out of my mind. And Christmas came and went. And I said to my husband, I'm leaving. He really loved it there. You can stay. I'm taking the kids. And luckily, I had not sold my apartment in Hoboken. I had rented it out to 4 girls. I had a loft and it was like Animal House. So I took it back. I moved in. I needed to get a job and I became a realtor. And it was kind of accidental, actually. I had a friend who came to help me with my 4 kids, and he was there for 6 months, and my husband said he's never going to leave. So I sent him to real estate school. He became a realtor. He was doing it 3 months, and I thought, God, I could do that. He was having a good time. He was getting to leave my kids. And the first office I worked in, where I stayed for 1 year, I was telling my team this at our business planning meeting a couple days ago. She didn't want to hire me. She thought I was flaky. And then like a few years ago when my group won, whatever realtor team of the year for the Chamber of Commerce locally, she presented
Oh, that was beautiful.
and I loved her. Anyway, I learned so much from her. And she's got to be like 85 now. And I said to her, you didn't want to hire me. And, so
It took you a while to have to tell her that one.
but
A
that
great feeling.
that's basically my background.
So Joe, if can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me?
No.
Oh no. Okay, I will reconnect into my iPad now. So hold on.
Okay, Tom. All right, great, Joe. Let's go to our next question. Well, Tom figures out how to get out of Zoom hell.
No, I'm back in.
Can I interrupt, Jill? As part of that question, I'm sure that, especially for our new agents, what kind of difficulties did you have to overcome and to become successful within your first 2 years?
Oh yeah. So, well, I'm a huge list maker, and I'm like a social connector. So I actually, when they tell you when you first become an agent that you have to write down everyone you know, like your doctor,
Right.
your
Sphere
right.
of influence.
So your
Yeah.
sphere of influence. So
Yeah.
I happen to have a 7,000 person database from my store. And I took that and I marketed to those women, and they had trusted me before, and they were forced to work with me, right? Because I don't know, I wasn't really afraid. I don't have a lot of phone fear. I'm not overly shy, even though, if truth be told, I actually am not an extrovert. I'm a determined person, and I put myself out there. I did not expect to grow a team. And I learned that I think newer agents, they don't really have a plan. They don't realize that you have to work like a regular job, and that if you don't put in the hours, nothing happens. And that there's a certain point in real estate where something clicks, right? In the
Mhm.
beginning, you're kind of a tour guide, and you take people out and you think everyone's going to buy everything, and then you go home and nobody buys anything. And then you get to a certain point and you start to learn to ask the hard questions in order so that people begin to make offers. And I'm not very salesy, even though I'm always selling. I'm super low pressure. I just do it in such a way that you're not really aware that I'm selling you things. And I
Right.
kind of do it from a place of service. Like, I'm trying to help, but I am definitely, when I get into a place, I'm like, I sit on the sofa and I'm like, wow, what a great place to have a party. Do you know what I mean? I'm always closing. So the entire appointment, and I learned how to listen, right? You might know that because I'm a chatty Cathy here, but I have learned to embrace the uncomfortable silence. I think it's very hard for agents not to fill in the gaps, but
Right.
sometimes, right, or most of the time, if you want to do this, people want to talk about themselves, and you have to let them speak. And then if you really pay attention and you learn, and you're not so busy thinking about what it is you're going to say, like I take notes. usually my first phone call, by the time I'm done, I know every single thing about you, where you lived, where you want to go, what you want to be in your second career. Do you like animals? What's your sexual persuasion? I know I'm not allowed to say that. Like,
Of course not.
I am your friend. I have learned everything. If you are going to walk upstairs, can you walk up one floor? Are your parents going to visit? Can they use stairs, or is it an elevator? Or do you like divided living? Or I'm finding out every single thing. And I make a file, and everybody does something different. I happen to use currently Follow Up Boss, where all of my notes are in there, and they're there. And before I see people, I go back and I look everything up, and I know
Right.
everybody's name and their kids' names and their dogs' names. And they're like, wow, how do you remember that? And the truth is all people look alike to me now. I can't remember anything. So I, like, that's, kind of ridiculous. And if those of you that have been
I
doing this for a
understand how you feel.
We have a
So,
Jill, that's a good segue into understanding how does your day start? How does it, what's your schedule like on a daily basis?
So I am a super early riser, and I used to love to sleep, so that's kind of sad. However, I get so much more done. I get up around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I like it because it's the only time that I'm alone. And
Hmm.
I make lists. I have coffee. I actually have some hacks, right? I get up, I make my coffee, I take my dogs out, I go to the gym because I find that that I want to be old and fat. And also it's much more about um I I want to be able to move, right?
right.
And I'm still vain, and I can't seem to move past that. So I force myself, even though I'm not one of those people that loves to go to the gym. But after that, I I run home. I get to take a shower. I have a hair dryer, which actually it's pretty funny. If you can see you see the corner?
Oh, the fan. Is that a fan?
No, 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 no. It's one of those old women hair.
Oh, actually a real in real life head thing.
So I'm a big reader. I read for 30 minutes under that hair dryer, so that because if I'm standing, my hands aren't free, and I'm not one of those podcast listeners. I actually like real paper. And so I get my reading done when I'm drying my hair. And then I also get up at about 3 in the morning, and I no longer get out of bed, but I do make lists a lot then, and I send them in an email to myself. I've learned it's not appropriate to text people in the middle of the night anymore. Uh, but
Want to have coffee?
right, I actually have some friends that are up at odd hours. So if I'm looking for people, there are other people that are crazy and awake. And I get a lot done. So by the time that I get to work at 9 o'clock, I usually know what it is that I'm doing. I make my calls from 9 to 11, and then I do a lot of I help a lot, and I do a lot of deal doctoring, which if you end up with a team, putting out fires and making
Mm,
sure that nobody has problems is a huge part of my day. I'm pretty structured. I have eaten the same salad for 4 years. I hate the salads so much that I can barely look at it. It shows up at 12 o'clock, and it's on my desk, and I have like 5 or 6 bites. And just I stopped going out to lunch because I realized I was wasting like 2 hours a day. And
that's
now,
right.
so that's helped a lot. Um, I do still work a lot. I don't go on that many appointments leaving the office, because a lot of what I do, I can actually do on the phone. I learned kind of during COVID how to take listings over the phone. I know that's kind of crazy, but if you can be on a Zoom like this, I'll have people that'll walk me through. And depending on what it is, obviously price point and, you know, and and the person that I'm connecting with, I'll frequently take all the specifics and then send over my listing team so that if it needs staging or it needs repairs or whatever has to happen, I don't necessarily have to go there to do that. And that saves a lot of time. I'm I'm trying to take back time. Um, yeah.
All you got.
Yeah.
So, so Jill, is everyone able to hear me now, I believe?
Yes, Todd, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay,
Excellent,
awesome.
buddy.
Well, thank you so much, Robert. And you were definitely a team building company, Jill, here at Coldwell Reliable, as you can see and experience. What really resonated with me is you have 4 daughters, right? You had 4 daughters when you started. Did you have 4 daughters when you started in real estate?
Yes.
4 daughters all the way through, and then 3 dogs in addition to those 4 daughters.
I have 4 dogs.
4
Wow.
dogs. Oh my goodness. So I
It's
miscalculated.
horrible. I didn't intend to have 4 dogs. It's just my kids went to school and got pets, and then I had to save them. So
So now last year it was 400 million in sales. Is that right? So 400 million in sales, that's 1.1 million. That's like selling a 1.1 million dollar home every single day.
that's a
So
lot.
1 point, yeah, it's a lot of real estate. So Jill was the 5th top producing real estate team at Coldwell Banker in the North American continent. She's also the number 2 rental team in America. And I believe you have anywhere between 5 to 10 professional designations. I was surprised to see all those. It kind of affirms for all of us to kind of aim higher in that regard. And then you have your team of 50 people. So you have a team of 50 people, and it kind of goes into our next question as far as
have 57 agents as of yesterday, and I think 15 support staff. So,
wow.
so
Oh,
we're
mackerel.
really running our own,
Yeah,
Company within a company.
in a company.
right.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
you keep
That's-
building and building and building. And how did you initially build your team, and what roles did you have people playing when you started building the team?
So I had gotten to a point where I worked all of the time, and I did have these 4 kids, and I could only work with so many people. And this is back when there were no teams and no buyer's agents. And there was a guy that sat in the computer room behind me. He could type like 90 words a minute, and I would listen to him, and I would get pissed off because I'm like this. I'm still like that, right? So I hired him to be my assistant. I decided I needed help, and but he really wanted to be an agent. He was new. He wasn't doing any business whatsoever. So he spent about a year as assisting me, and then my business got to that tipping point again where I was, drowning, and I had cracks, when your quality starts to slip because you run out of time, you need to get help. And I think a mistake that people make is they sometimes go and they get another agent before they get an assistant. There's so much, like every single thing
Right.
I'm not good at doing, things I don't want to do, I give to, and that's different for everyone, but whoever happens to be assisting me. And at this point, I have several assistants. But that way, I'm not doing things that really don't make me money. If that, like, I'm
Right.
making best use of my time.
No, absolutely. I think having the assistant, the part-time and then the full-time assistant, that's
Yeah.
key. That's the first key, I believe.
I also think that, agents are afraid, right? Because they're worried about how am I going to make this person's salary? And you have to literally take the money off of whatever commission and put it in a separate account for the entire year's salary so that you don't think about it, right? And then it takes that off. You're going to have this assistant and and then you get an agent, right? If you get to a
Right.
point, right, where there's enough leads and enough business, because otherwise you have teams that have so much churn, like so much turnover, people leave. Because if you're giving all of the stinky leads that nobody wants to the agent that works with you. They're not very happy, and they
Right.
go off and they work for other people. And we have to invest so much time before you become successful, that I really do have a group of people that I like. So we're careful, and we don't want you to leave. And like, I've had people that are with me for years, and they're like my friends. And
What's the longest running team member there for you?
um let's see, I became a realtor in 2005. Probably she started in 2009.
2009. So
Yeah.
that's 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
Incredible, incredible. And so Elite comes in for, say, a Hoboken home, $500,000 or $1 million. How do you delegate those leads? I mean, how do you delegate the work within your team?
Ooh. So I have 3 ISAs, which is an inside sales associate. Their job is to answer our leads in 90 seconds. And we actually run kind of like opportunity time, the way they used to do it. I don't know if offices, how they break that up anymore. But if you're on opportunity time, and they are also price point specific, some of my agents are newer and can only, they got to practice, right? So
Absolutely.
beginning, right, you're learning to work with renters or lower price points, or you're shadowing other agents. And after you're qualified, right, so that means that you've learned your script, and where that we can let you loose on people on the telephone. But I think getting that speed to lead, whoever it is, people want instant gratification, and if you do not answer them immediately, they go to the next realtor. So we're very big on stopping them, setting the appointment, right, and then helping, right, like, rather than calling people back the next day, because by then they're gone.
And you bring up the word shadowing. I like that you bring up shadowing. I mean, so you actually have the agent work with someone else, I believe, in the first month, or how long does that go?
We honestly, you have a 90-day onboarding program, and the shadowing, nobody learns. You go to real estate school, very low, entrance bar to get into our industry, and then
Right.
all of that stuff that you learn there, I don't know what you do with it. You learn from all of the horrible things that happen, right? And it still happens. Different things happen all the time.
Right.
From trying to get the key from the doorman, figure out what floor, like, the gym is on, or getting locked in the back of a building or a garage, or having to climb a fire escape because you forgot that the door was going to shut behind you, or the fact that you need warm water if the lockbox is stolen. All of those is frozen, right? All of those things that happen, older agents don't think about it, because
it's normal
to you, and you took it on the chin, and you learned from it. And so we send them in groups, right? So we probably have about 30 open houses every weekend. In the beginning, they'll shadow an open house, and then they'll shadow somebody's home inspection and the appraisal, and how to prep for the appraisal. What are the things that you have to bring, when you go there to meet? Like, just every single piece of it. There's people support each other, and with listings, we always send 2 people at a minimum, because I find that if one person is not a good personality match for the seller, the other person can usually step in. Or if we all have those days when we forget what we're talking about, and if you've lost your personality, hopefully the other person has found it. So
no, honestly, that's my favorite statement since we started this, is that you have 2 people at the start, right? So I think it's amazing to have 2 people at an introductory sales pitch. So if everyone is hearing the amazing Jill Biggs, bring in anyone, bring in a manager, bring in someone, right, to help you out while you're sitting on the couch trying to convince this person we don't know, we've never met them before, right? Yeah. We're trying to convince them to put their life in our hands.
Well,
right? So I think it's,
I think that we also do it with like junior and senior, depending on how much production you've done. And
right.
in the beginning, the first, I don't know, years, 5, 7 years of my career, the old, we call them the old guard. We're going to change that to something else. But the people that
Yeah.
started out and have been there for years went on hundreds of listing appointments with me, so that it's a script. It might, like when I'm taking a listing, my script is now, it's my own. I've ingested it. It doesn't, I can come at it from any, if you interrupt me, I can go back, like I'm having a conversation, but all of those are scripts. They've become my own. And it was most noticeable to me. One of my kids, the number 2 kid, works with me. And I think she started working with me 4 or 5 years ago. And
And she still works with you, right?
oh yeah, she is 26-year-old. A 26-year-old. She
Right.
just bought her first house for $1.3 million, which at 26, I could never have done that. She's living in the lower unit and renting a big, beautiful part of the house to other people, so they're paying her mortgage, right? Which is the smart thing to do for young people.
Right.
But it took time, right, for her to get it. However, we were driving to Atlantic City to get our CE credits, and the phone rang, and I was in the car. There were like 4 of us, and this is like, I don't know, 4 years ago, and it was a call, and it was on Bluetooth, and she was speaking, and she's going like this, shh, so like none of us can speak, and she went into my script verbatim, because her entire life she's been sitting in the back of the car watching TV, listening to me say shh, right? So word for word, which is incredible because she's 26 years old and she sounds like a 58-year-old woman, but she literally, those guys in finance, they don't know what hit them, because she is just like, she has the whole thing down. And when in the beginning, she wore glasses and put her hair up so that she would look older. I think that it's the one industry where it doesn't help you to be young, right?
Yeah, well, my boss demanded me to wear a full suit every day, because I was not in my first year. And then because I don't know, he just didn't think that my dress wear was going to function well with the clients, right? So he's like, wear a suit no matter what. But Jill, as far as, I guess your most impressive sale is that $1.3 million purchase of your daughter. But outside of that, second to that, right? Well, second to that, what do you think is your most...
That house that she bought, in order for her to get it, it was one of the other people in my group's house that I sold her, it was my listing, right? I had a bidding war. I sold it to somebody in my group. She had a baby, wanted another house. We had to jump through hoops because there was an 11-person bidding war on the other house. I called in every favor. She got that house. And then I made the agent on my team, who happens to be my friend, sell it to me. I paid her the price she asked for, or sell it to Phoebe. And nothing like a big mortgage to motivate, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so we're all connected. But as far as, so second to that, what's your most impressive listing you've had, or your most memorable listing you've had these past 20 years? And how did you secure that lead?
Well, remember, I've been doing this for a long time. Most memorable. Most memorable. That's a tricky one. I got 8 $2 million townhomes from somebody who looked me up online at my marketing, and I competed with, you guys won't know this because you're New York, but my brother, who was driving on the turnpike or whatever, said, when are you going to get successful like Rob? Rob sells New Jersey. And I'm like, yeah. So I competed with Rob. His name is Rob Dekansky. and it was you know, that took me a little bit out of my comfort level, only because that it was all of those townhomes, ground up, new construction. We don't have so much of that, or at this point, I've done a bunch more. But
Sure.
back then, you know, I sold more brownstones and condos that were one-offs. So
But you said 18 $2 million townhouses from your
8.
internet. Oh, I'm sorry, 8. Well, still, that's a lot of money. Still.
Yeah,
But
no,
8
yes, that's
from an internet presence is what you're saying, right? From a marketing internet presence. Right?
yeah.
So,
You know, I've also had I've had some people whose names I can't really mention that, you know, were famous that looked me up, and I guess it's interesting because we're vertical living and proximity. I really do work in like a 5-mile radius. Probably 80% of my business is in 2 miles. And the way it works here, different than like in the city, if you drive up and down the streets, you will see our signs everywhere.
Right.
I have several 30-foot billboards, right, that say we probably sold your neighbor's home in strategic places where people get stuck at the stoplight. They have no choice but to stop.
awesome.
We're and we've been doing mailings for my entire career. Every time anything sells, right? We're sending to the building, we're sending to the block, we're sending to, you know, whatever is appropriate. So it's like water torture, right? Right? Whatever you're not, it's like you never know which piece of it is gonna
Right.
be one that,
President.
you know, but we're trying to to be everywhere. We go to the
And you have, well, you have
shopping
400 and, yeah, you have 461 reviews as well, right? So,
oh
I mean,
yeah, we have
I counted them, right? So, I mean, how in the world do you get all those reviews? I mean, do you actually ask every single client almost that you work with to give you a review, or
well,
how do you do that?
you have to be strategic and try not to ask people that don't like you.
Oh,
Right? No,
Or convert them.
exactly. We have found at this point that if you, first of all, if you text over a link and you make it super simple for somebody to give you a review, you also, I don't know if people go to closings or if you're at the walkthrough, right? If you ask somebody to do it when they're there, it gets done. So you know, we ask every single person who, you know, and it skips around. We went through like a pitch for getting Google reviews.
mhm.
You're looking on Zillow. Um, Listen, everybody wants to work with somebody that they trust. So that is especially millennials who are, you know, the largest group of home buyers coming, right?
Right.
They're going to look you up. They're going to read Angie's list.
Right.
They're going to ask their friends. They're going to be assholes, right? That's when you ask and you don't take people's advice. Whatever. I think I do that. When I go to restaurants and I say, what are your favorite things on the menu? And then I say, when I don't like that, I'm like, well, what are the most popular? Well, what do you like, right? It's
Yeah.
really do their research, and the internet, they can find everything. So making sure that your stuff is consistent
Mhm.
across all right of the websites is it's something that you have to take a look at like once a week because things get messed up.
Well, and someone asked in the chat, so is there a location where you kind of prioritize the reviews? Would that be Zillow? I will take note that you're asking for reviews at the walkthrough. So
Well, you ask for
Monday.
the review. If you wait, and it really does depend, right? We all know what our relationship is, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to, buying a home is stressful. So people are stressed out. You want to ask when you're at a lowest point of stress, right? When they're happy. So it depends on the person, but I find that with my young agents, when they go to the walkthrough, which is 20 minutes to make sure the house hasn't burnt down, they're excited, they show up, they can snap a picture, and you can say, hey, I'm so excited for you, and do you mind giving me a 5-star review? right? It's not.
Do you mind giving me a 5-star review? I love that question. So,
Oh, you got
is
to
it,
5-star in, because if you don't say 5-star, they might give you 4 stars
you know,
because
they
Right.
will, yeah. And so Zillow, is that the number one place, or are you kind of going back
so-
and forth Google?
Zillow, depending, right? I started with Zillow in the beginning, used to cost $100 a month, something like that. And then it went up to, I don't know, 40,000. And now I'm on a whole other level of Zillow-ness. But those reviews there were super important, because if you're looking up a realtor, and I don't know what the actual numbers are, but it's something in the high 80s, they start on Zillow or on StreetEasy. And if you're trying to distinguish yourself from the other agents, and the other agent has one review and you have, a significant number, who are they calling? They're always calling you. Same thing
A
on
higher number, yeah.
but Google's very important now, and you have to be careful. You we started, we had a little competition to get our Google reviews up, but you can only get so many at once, or you get flagged, right? Because so it has to be kind of consistent, not all at once, but definitely getting reviews is important. Making sure that your bio is filled out and updated, even has a picture. Like, just
Well, you have to update your bio to 4 dogs, Joe, right?
does it say
You have
3?
3 dogs, yeah.
Well,
on
because
LinkedIn.
you know what? I have a 3-month-old puppy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
I'm
She's
just pulling your chain with that, but
no, no,
everybody.
no. It is. She's new, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, you've been with Coldwell Banker, I think, from the first day. Is that right? And so,
You missed that part because of your
Oh.
poor internet connection.
yeah. Right.
I started at a tiny little mom and pop real estate office where I stayed for 1 year, and I decided I was going to be a listing agent, and I wanted to have a great brand, right? With, with an internet presence.
Yeah.
Because back then, especially since I didn't have a track record, it wasn't like I was just going to sell myself. I needed to have, the brand behind me. And I never left because I still love the brand. I've been super happy, and I made great connections, and
And how has Coldwell Banker benefited your business? I mean, imagine you receive leads here and there. You attend all the events that they offer, I believe, right? I mean, everything that's available to
Listen,
attend.
our referral business, like if you pay attention to a lead source that is, if you buy internet leads, they're very expensive, right? It costs more than it does to give a referral back and forth. And I never, ever give referrals unless I know the person that I'm referring them to. So these Coldwell Banker events, they connect me with other people, and then I get to know them and they know me. And when somebody gives a referral, the expectation is that you're paying attention and taking care of it. And I think we are a relationship-based business, and so it's important to meet each other and to see each other and have face-to-face time and help. And also, I'm in a bunch of masterminds, and everybody has like things that they spend money on to grow. And when you put people that are doing business together, they exchange ideas, and there's no one right way, but having another person take a look, like I had my business planning event for all of these people on, I think Tuesday. And I called 4 of my friends and said, so did you do anything different in your event, right? That made it different this year? What's worked well? What didn't work well? And picking the brain of other people that are, doing similar things and are willing to share because they're also in different markets, right? We don't all have that if we're in the same market, but these big events put you with other agents where you're not necessarily competing, because I think that that's been a a game changer in my business. It's how
No,
I,
absolutely. And I don't think we would have never met without just getting out to those events. So, I mean, I met you in Fort Lee at a Tom Ferry event. And, you know, he's like, oh, this is Jill Biggs. I didn't know who Jill Biggs was. I mean, this is 10 plus years ago, right? And, you know, it's phenomenal. Without Tom Ferry, admittedly, without all these events that go on,
well,
I wouldn't.
Tom's been super, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have Tom. And, you know, and I made so much
Excuse me.
to run my business like a business because I wasn't running a business up until he stepped in and started asking me my numbers. I used to have to carry this folded piece of paper in my back pocket because he would ask me and I would get embarrassed in front of, you know, thousands of people. So, what's your production? I'm like, how many deals did you do? And now I still might not be the numbers person, right? But I go to every single conference with a little sheet folded in my back pocket so that I know, you know what I mean, what my numbers are.
Right. No, absolutely. And so how do you think coaching has affected your business the most? I mean, maybe with the number of clients, or where has it helped you the most? Because it's been a long time you've been working with Tom and people within the Tom Ferry network.
Yeah. So, well, it's a couple things, right? Biggest is probably it gives me a level of accountability. I've been fired by Tom, I think 4 times. So I'm not right with the coaching thing. They have an expectation that you're holding up your end of the bargain. There's
Right.
homework, right? And if you're not investing in yourself, they don't have time. So you really either level up, right? Or people run faster than you. And it
Yes.
puts me in proximity to other agents that are hustling. And I'm so motivated by winning that I'm not going to let these guys do better than me. And I see others and I'm like, they can do it. I can do it. Right. And that, you know, all of that, the coaching, the being surrounded by people that have our crazy agent brain, you know, like it's very rare that as a regular person you get to go out and your friends understand why you're standing in the corner on the phone for most of the dinner or under the
Right.
tablecloth, right? It's not normal. Regular people don't do that. Only in our industry do we run up, see people, and we all hug. Like that's not normal. We're like,
No, it's not. And I want to mention, so certainly for everyone here, because we had the blessing of Christoph Chu. I mean, I can't believe it's like we had Mr. Beverly Hills last month, and now we have you, Miss New Jersey. I mean, now you actually communicate or connect with Christoph at least once a month, I think, right?
oh, sometimes I talk to him a couple times a week.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, so he's all the way over there. I mean, he uplifts you, he energizes you, you energize each other, you hold each other accountable, and then you have coaches. I want to ask you for online tools. You know, when you and I started real estate, we had open houses, we had paper, we had postcards. Now, so much of it is where the leads are coming from, the internet-based and all that. What online tools are helping you the most right now?
So, get ready. I use so many things, right? So I use Follow Up Boss, which is my CRM. And I use, I think at the moment, Ylopo, which is a lead generating website. I use, and it has Raya, which is like a bot which communicates in text. I use Call Action, which sends texts out, and you can like structure it so that, you know, 2 minutes after the first text, a second, like it's
Jill, I'm sorry. What was that again? The last one?
Call Action.
Call action. Thank you.
Uh-huh. I operate my team in Slack, and we have different Slack channels, right? So open houses for feedback, for things the group needs to know, just for shout outs, or if somebody needs help from somebody else. We have built a lot of integrations with get ready. And remember, I'm not the tech person. We've made Zaps, which allow integrations between these different tools, right? And so you don't necessarily have to enter it multiple times in different places. It'll
Right.
zap across, and you'd have to ask my ops person because he does that. But I'm trying to think of what else we're using. I use Asana to make lists, which I share so that they get assigned. And in the middle of the night, I can put things there.
So Asana and Slack, I mean, that's a huge investment outside of Zillow and all that. I mean, that you're putting out a lot of investing every month in your business.
So you ready? The biggest thing that teams have, and I think, and I was at a follow-up boss conference and I listened to somebody speak. It isn't the leads. Like people join, we have leads. And I'm buying leads and that's expensive. But our tech stack, right, is like that's expensive. As an individual agent, being able to afford a lot of the things, right? You only have so much money and you have to use it wisely.
Right.
So we're constantly implementing new things, and then we test them, right? And we test them and we go back and forth, and if it's working, then we turn up, and we spend more in that direction, and if it's not, we remove it. But all of these, all of these things, it doesn't matter what your CRM is, right? Just pick one, right? Whatever that is, it doesn't make a difference.
Well, they all function, they all achieve a result. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them have different results, different customization.
It literally is, you have to remember people. You cannot remember them if you don't write them down. And if they don't have a task assigned to them, you will forget them. So it's, all the money is in the follow-up. And so keeping your database in order is probably the number one thing, right? For a new agent, you have the luxury of starting from a place where you're not having to try to sift back through years of business and straighten it out, right?
Yeah.
The database is only valuable if you actually have the phone number, the current address, the email, all of that, right? And then when they move, it needs to be updated. And then we forget these people we sold homes to that you need to be touching quarterly at least, and that you need to call on their anniversary. And, and then also segmenting them into groups by age, because different ages need to be communicated to differently.
Sure.
Young people want to be texted, right?
Right.
My kids text each other about me in front of me, but an old person wants like a handwritten note, right? If you send out handwritten notes, as hokey as that sounds, it's multi-level, right? You have to like really hit each person where they want to be communicated to, and ask them, like when you have an initial consultation with somebody, how do you best want to be communicated with?
No, that's right. I asked them that
Right?
myself. So, because I don't like texting necessarily, but maybe they do.
No, but also telling your agents, especially if you have younger agents, that text has no tone, right? If you read a text 3 different ways, like you could take it any way depending on your mood. So when it comes to anything other than confirming an appointment and a time, which you do with a text, if it's something that matters, you gotta pick up the phone. They need to hear your voice, and you need to hear theirs, or you're not making a deal. So
yeah. So I have 2 more questions. I know we're almost past the time, but as far as, so you're consistently on social media, of course. I'm going to mention his name again, Tom Ferry, because like my favorite quote of his of the year is "Done is better than perfect." Right. So you just kind of throw out stuff, no matter what. You're tossing up stuff out there. What's your favorite use of social media? I mean, are you
And your content is fantastic, by the way, Jill. So let's not downplay that. I watched the video posts on your tips all the time.
So I never, ever, ever watch my videos under any circumstances. And people come up all the time and say nice things to me. And I think if I watched them, I would take them down and need to redo them. So that done being, right? The
No, but
purpose,
that's my point is that
Yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna get it together. I'm gonna put it up because no matter what, you're receiving value from your advice or what you're talking about.
listen,
Right.
nobody cares. You look exactly as you look. It doesn't matter, right? And everybody wants people that are authentic, right? We spend too much time getting worried, or, you know, it's just like when you go to make a phone call and you have to spend 45 minutes figuring out who am I going to call, right?
Right.
You wasted 45 minutes.
That's right.
I actually have in my office still, and this is from years ago, a doing and done board, right?
Yes.
With projects. So every time because if I don't put it up in front of me, because that's how my mind works, I forget about it. So I write them on the wall and then I move them while we're working on them until they hit done. And I try to bang things out like that and get obviously other people to help me do it. It's important to, and I don't know if I answered any of your question. You would just ask me about where social media.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess you're everywhere, right? So you're on LinkedIn every day, you're on Facebook every day, you're on
So
Instagram every day.
as far as video, what we'll usually do is once or twice a month, we'll film for 4 hours, and they'll chop that up into different bits of content, and they use it for other, you know, and there I have a, you know, a marketing director and a social media person. So right now, I think we're working on fixing up our YouTube channel, right? Which I didn't pay attention to. I think they do like short form reels. Um, they do a lot on Instagram. I'm never really certain if it's because my social media is a millennial and they love Instagram, but we're also, you know, putting it on Facebook, and with that, there's so much content out there, and I don't know who coaches like, or who's in Tom Ferry or what's open or what's shared, but like in his Illume, they have so many ideas, topics you can talk about, different
Right.
ways. You don't even necessarily have to have a personality. Sometimes you could just do a video that is informational, right? Like anything, this is what
Right.
happens during the home sale process. Like
Right.
and down like that. And you're putting the taglines because nobody actually listens, but they're reading it, right? And there's all kinds of tips and tricks, which at this point you look at other people's videos, you see who's getting the most views, and you just what is it, R&D, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel here.
Right.
Other people are doing it, having success. You can look at people in other markets, and you know, and I follow people that like have a great social media presence, and yeah, I don't know. And then it doesn't matter. Like I say sometimes ridiculous things, and some of the videos that they post, I like about my parking. People are like, "Oh, I loved your parking video." I'm like, "Oh no." Right?
So yeah, but it's the point of kind of just being persistent and getting stuff up. And I like the idea that you did 4 hours of videotaping and you're able to just not just do a 30-second video, but
No, and I
30-second.
have like different jackets. You'll see. I'll be like, I'll go
Exactly.
one jacket to the next jacket to the next jacket, just
Right.
so that we can get them all done. And then I don't have to waste time,
Right.
you know, breaking up my day. And it doesn't mean like during the day, we're still doing video, but I'm not generally involved in it. The social media person will, like, she's around, right? And if I never know what she's videoing, which is a good thing. So
That's awesome. So we're in the holiday period, certainly, and I want to ask you as far as engaging with your communities, what you do nonprofits, what kind of gatherings you found most successful, and is there something special you do this month for your customers? I mean, that's a lot in one, but that's the concluding. But yeah, what do you do any kind of annual gathering? What do you do, Jen?
So we're pretty involved in our community. Like we sponsor the Hoboken shelter. They had an event. I think I went on a boat cruise where like platinum sponsored them, and my kids had to work there as young people, so everybody kind of sponsors them. Also, I have my team involved in most of the organizations in Hoboken and Jersey City. Somebody's a member of different things, right? And I had started out in my business making that mandatory. We all had our own sphere, and even though there's crossover, like somebody in every single school, and just because people like to work with people that they know, and I have actually stolen from a friend of mine who runs a team in Wayne, New Jersey. Her name is Karen Peters.
Okay.
She took her database and divided it up. And so we did that. So now I do gifting, or she calls them pop buys, where we drop off things. And I do it monthly so that I don't get stuck with thousands of people at once.
You do
So
gifting
like we've divided,
Wow.
right? So
Right, but you don't leave it till the end of the year or all that. You don't do it
it's so
January, but,
so
yeah.
it's so much easier to do this. Like we sent out a bottle of wine with I think pencils, and it was like parents need school supplies too in September. Right? So we took out 50 people for that. And then I want to say that for Thanksgiving, we delivered 350 pies or something like that.
350 pounds.
Yeah, and then I will like we have wine with our own label on it, which I'll drop off to another 100 people for Christmas, and then come Valentine's Day, my number 3 kid is a chocolatier. We also do desserts. She'll do desserts for my past clients, and I'll drop like 40 off when she feels like making individual strawberry shortcakes or truffles, and everybody loves to be on my dessert route and get or like that's why you really want to remember and make notes in your CRM as to people. Like nothing like dropping off the alcoholic a bottle of wine, right? So probably better to put chocolate. So keeping up to date notes and putting people in your CRM properly, and then tagging them so that you don't forget them. And there's things that you can also do that you send as a whole, right? Where our Christmas cards, well, they're not Christmas, they're holiday, so is everybody. But we're sending those, and I have no idea what January has a plan, but they're loving on our past clients because we forget them. And I think that if you forget them, then you have an excuse in your head that, oh, I haven't called them for 2 years. How do I call them? And I'm like, you pick up the phone and you say, hey, I drove by your house and I thought of you. How are you doing?
Right, I think, and that's another, I'm sorry, Tom Ferry, I thought of you. I've been thinking about it because people don't want this forced push. They want to know that they're thought about.
Yes.
Right? And so we could, I think that that's hugely significant. We had someone ask about your favorite book or favorite 2 books that you have loved reading that's inspiring for your business. What would those be?
Well, I am right now reading Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Great book. That's a great book. I finished that book recently.
And I just gave the new agents. Oh, I wish I was not in my office, so I can't even show it to you. But I gave them a little book because we have a bunch of newbies, and I think it's called YOU 2, and it's a tiny little story about the the fly that keeps going against the window and dies because he doesn't turn to go out the door. Like I read a lot, so there have been a lot of books that have been impactful. John Maxwell, I think, caused me to get a divorce, but I took him back, so we're back together. But I, I think that I had everyone read. I want to say the last book was. Give me a second. It's Alter Ego, right?
Alter Ego.
Boss. Yeah. It's about how, like, I'm in my house right now, but when I go to work, I wear a suit jacket, and I wear a suit jacket. I wear jeans, right, because that's what my market looks like, and otherwise I would look like a car salesman, and I don't want to. But when I put that suit jacket on, even if I have shorts on, I feel like a boss, right? So
Right.
it's about how do you put on, right, so that you bring it. And I don't know, that's a good book it gets everyone inspired. I think we read Never Split the Difference, which is about negotiations. Everybody really liked that.
And you said we read. That's an important statement.
Oh, so
Who's we?
We is my team. Yeah.
How many people read that book?
I gave it to the entire team.
And so
everybody had a month to read it, and then we had a discussion about it. Yeah. So I try to get them reading, and I do have a whole lending library. So depending on what's important to you. Years ago, Richard Smith, I think he was the CEO of Realogy.
Realogy. Yes, correct.
Right.
Yes.
He came to my office and he saw that I had all of these books, and he left. And the next day I got a package. It had 2 books in it. And there was a handwritten note, and it said, "One of these books will change your life." And I read both the books, and I thought about it. And one of them was, it wasn't how to win friends and influence people. It was something about connections. And I wrote him back a note, because I think that might have changed his life, but that's where I live. There's other things wrong with me, right, that will change. Like, it's so interesting. Everybody's different. We're not all the same. There's not one right way to do it. But from every single book, you get something, right? And Tom Ferry, right, who says, like, if you got the point of the book, you don't have to finish it. Move on to the next one, because most of them, they're telling you a story over and over and over, so you can relate. Right. Once you got the point, it's okay. You can stop and go to the next one. And there's so many great books, and and it's like you have all these aha moments. The other half of the group right now, I think, is reading Surrounded by Idiots.
But I love that you have your team reading these books. That's something that we should all keep in mind.
We have to get rid of Dog 4 immediately.
Oh, Dog 4.
That's wonderful. Brand new.
So Jill, I have endless appreciation for you giving all this time for us. I mean, it's been more than an hour. I feel, guilty of all this. It's like a holiday gift.
Don't worry.
Yeah, Jill, just a couple of comments in the chat from Cosmo Ficara. Thank you, Jill. Could listen all day. Great presentation out of our West Hampton Beach office. And then Rich Rawdon out of our Southampton office. Great to listen to you today. Thank you for your wonderful insight. See you on LinkedIn and IG. Happy holidays. And, does anyone else have a question for Jill that they'd like to ask before we let her go?
Yeah, I just want to ask one question, Jill. What do you think is most important, especially for newer agents who have been in the business a short time, up to 2 years? What do they have to do to really get going, to make not a statement, but to really feel like they're in the business now and they know what they're doing? What's most important?
Yeah, well, that was the end of that one.
Yeah, you know what I think? I really think that the reason that I'm successful is I have small goals, right? I have big goals, but I break them into small goals. So right now I have a 90-day commitment to my team that every day from 9 to 11, I'm going to stand on the floor and call so that they can listen, right? If you made a commitment, because the commitment's to yourself, and it's habits, having these habits that and doing them every day. Maybe you can't commit to 90 days, but everybody can commit to doing something for a week, right? If you pick 3 things that you're going to commit to each week, and then you have a buddy, accountability is key, right? I have accountability partners that I talk to every day, right? Every day, every day, every day. It's a 5-minute phone call. What did you do? You know, did you make the 17 conversations that you were supposed to make? So if I know I've broken down my business in order for me to make my goals, and everybody needs a business plan, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be crazy. You don't have to be an accountant to do a business plan, but you absolutely can break it down by the number of conversations that you need to have to get an appointment, the number of appointments in order to write a contract, the number of contracts before you get a deal. So, and then I'm committed to have these 17 conversations each day. And if you have that, right, it works out for you. Small habits, get somebody who's going to be your accountability partner, who, you know, and support each other. And remember, the money that you make is direct correlation to how many hours you work. And I tell people that all the time. If you only work 2 hours a day, how successful are you going to be? Right? Like, you're investing in yourself, and that's, you know, and then remember, all the money's in the follow-up. The person who wins is the person who just keeps following up.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I think so. Joseph and Robert, I mean, I don't know if we had gone through everyone. I mean, Joe is our agency co-founder. Bo is our agency co-founder at the Hamptons.
I don't know what founder means, but okay. Thanks, Todd.
CEO, founder, or, you know, he's our cold calling expert, honestly, Joe. So Joe is doing this role play every Monday. As our CEO of the company, he's doing role play. Really incredible. So would there be anything else you'd like to share with us, Jill, before? Oh, you are Hoboken, Jersey City, and where else should we be sending you clients?
So we do actually everything in Hudson County. Mostly, right? I have an office in Hoboken and one in downtown Jersey City. However, there's towns, I don't know how familiar everyone is because you guys are New Yorkers, and it's hard to get New Yorkers to say Jersey. So I am an ex-New Yorker. When I travel and people ask me where I'm from, I say New York, and they say what part, and I say New Jersey. So, but FYI, if you hadn't been here in a long time, Jersey City looks a lot like Brooklyn, and we have a better commute than most of you. So, but Weehawken, like if somebody wanted to move to a suburb, it's literally, I don't know, you could get to work in 15 minutes from Weehawken into the city, has blue ribbon schools. It's pretty close. We go all the way up to Fort Lee, and we're growing. I pretty much have somebody who covers everywhere. I just don't know how. New York, you come to Hoboken or Jersey City, and then probably you jump out to Westfield, Chatham, Short Hills, Summit, Maplewood, and Montclair. It's got to be you have the same feeder markets that I do. Yes?
Yes. Jill, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Can I just get one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask this. So kind of a little bit of a strange question, not so much motivation, but can you just quickly touch on like energy throughout the day? Just kind of meaning, I'm sure there are times where you're doing a lot, you're managing a lot. If we all hit a wall at some point. I'm just curious, are there any tips and tricks, whether that be lifestyle, focus, whatever the case may be, where you can talk to just kind of sustaining that energy? Again, not necessarily motivation. I understand, you're competitive, but specifically that component.
I think, getting up in the morning, maybe people can't go from getting up at 10 o'clock in the morning to getting up at 5 in the morning. But if you add 15 minutes each day, right, so that you actually can get to that point, getting up early and going to the gym, whatever that, like exercise, as crazy as it is, lots of us don't want to do it, but it does give you energy. I work at a standing desk and I don't have a chair. And I actually spend the whole day walking back and forth, which keeps me having energy. I'm fairly energetic anyway, and not eating a crazy amount of food for lunch because
Right.
that makes you take a nap. And I think it's important to, you know, to eat clean, right? And drink a lot of water and mindset. Like, I get up every day and I'm excited and happy to go to work. By 4:30, I want to kill you, right? Because that's the reality. The thing I got going for me is I don't have any short-term memory, so I forget the next morning how pissed off I was. I'm going.
Jill, thank you so much. We really appreciate all the time. Kate Conquest, National Vice President of Affiliate Servicing Coldwell Banker, is here. She's going to close us out. Jill, you were fantastic, and we hope you'll come again.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jill.
for having me.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kate.
How do I follow Jill? Like, is that really fair? I mean, you know, it's I feel like you set me up for failure here, Joe. Thanks a lot. Jill, we love you. We're so grateful that you're part of the Coldwell Banker Network. It was great to you know, to hear your take on the business. I just want to share some of the biggest takeaways that I really, you know, think all of us should really listening to. That CRM, it doesn't matter. It just has to be something, right? Like, we have Moxie. You should be using Moxie. It's free to you, but it doesn't matter if you're using something else, use it. Text has no tone. Like, I want to frame that because I
Yeah,
have
I
a
love
team
it.
that works for me. And when they say they texted somebody, like, really? Yeah, text has no tone. And then I do think that there is such a bad vibe around scripts, but how Jill explained it, like, she wrote her scripts. They're hers and they're her own. So when she says them, when she says them, it doesn't feel funky. They're her own words, and they're so good that her daughter learned them just through osmosis of being around it. So
You
go ahead,
know
Jill.
what? I'm going to tell you this because even I think when I read scripts, I think they're hokey. But the truth is if you memorize that first, as hokey as it is, then when you have the person on the phone, you're able to listen. And it like, so we're still, I'm not having them write their own scripts. My script evolved, right, into what it is from doing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
But everybody needs to learn a script. It's like, you asked me what new agents need to do. Getting down those first two scripts, we call them ALM or LP Mama, or it's key, right,
Yeah.
to closing.
Absolutely. And on that note, closing, I love what you said. All the money is in the follow-up. And I had a presentation about Coldwell Banker and our great stats and our future look ahead that I'm going to ask Joe and Bo if I can come back in a week or two and maybe deliver that presentation, because I don't want to take away the buzz of the hard work that Jill displayed, and her very approachable attitude to the business as well. I mean, it's refreshing, Jill. So I will say, the one thing I will say on the market right now, and I think we're over in 2 minutes. So I will say that, you know, the SVP of Fannie Mae, one of the head economists over there, Doug Duncan, recently said that from our perspective at Fannie Mae, that demographics remain favorable in terms of housing. So the sector appears well positioned to help lead the economy out of what we think will be a brief recession. So I read that and I'm like, yeah. And I love our industry. I'm so proud to be a Coldwell Banker. We've been in business since 1906. This is our second pandemic. Furthermore, on average, every time we sell a house, there's estimated $35,000 to $55,000 that's generated in the local economy. So as we're all feeling it at the gas pump and the grocery store and the utilities, just remember that we have such an unbelievable privilege to help people achieve home ownership. And no matter what the next few months are gearing up for. We're professionals. This is our career. We can navigate any market. And with all the resources and tools and products you have access through Joe, Bo, Coldwell Banker, we're here to guide you that way. So thank you for inviting me on. Thank you for being with us at Coldwell Banker. We truly realize there's no us without you. And I will kick it back to you, Joe and Bo. And thank you so much again. Great to see you all.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
You.
All right, Jill, again, thank you. We loved having you. Everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. This is our last town hall of the year. So we'll see you January 2023. Did I miss any of them? Happy holidays.
Don't forget the happy holidays, Joe. And Jill, you can come out to the Hamptons anytime you want. You have a place. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you,
Ciao.
Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.